What the fuck's going on down there?
I don't know. Let's stop this now! Charlie!
You've probably seen Animal House more times than you can count. You know the lines, you know the scenes, and you can probably still do a halfway decent Belushi impression. But this movie has more layers than most people realize. Details baked into the background, choices made on set that changed everything, and facts about how it got made that are almost as wild as the film itself. Here are 20 hidden details you missed in Animal House.
What the fuck's going on down there?
I don't know.
Detail 20. The film is set in 1962. And that's deliberate. The movie was released in 1978, but the story takes place in 1962. That's not random. Screenwriters Harold Ramis, Douglas Kenney, and Chris Miller deliberately set it just before the cultural upheaval of the mid-60s. The Kennedy assassination, Vietnam, the counterculture, civil rights. By placing it in 1962, they caught the last moment of post-war American innocence on the edge of collapse. The students in Faber College have no idea what's about to happen to their country. The audience in 1978 did. That gap is part of what gives the film its strange undertone. Tim Matheson, who played Otter, noticed this in retrospect. In a 2021 interview with the Library of Congress, he pointed out the parade scene specifically. A float showing a white hand shaking a black hand that then falls apart. Girls dressed in Jackie Kennedy-style pillbox hats. The racial dynamics of the Dexter Lake Club scene. The 1962 setting wasn't just a backdrop. It was a quiet comment on the world that was about to change. John Landis and the writers were making a film about memory and a lost era as much as they were making a comedy about a frat house.
A tough get going! Who's with me? Let's go! Come on! Ah!
Detail 19. The Faber College motto is a deadpan joke. Every time the camera pans across the Faber College founder's statue in the opening sequence, you can read the inscription underneath. Knowledge is good. That's it. No Latin flourish, no inspiring rhetoric. Just the driest, most hollow-sounding statement that could possibly pass as a college motto. It was completely intentional. The writers put it there as a joke about the emptiness of institutional authority. The kind of meaningless declaration that sounds important until you actually read it. It also subtly establishes the tone of everything that follows. If the college's foundational principle is something so blandly obvious that it barely qualifies as a thought, then maybe the students are right not to take it seriously. Most viewers have watched the film a dozen times without ever stopping to read what the statue says. If you go back and look, it's right there on the pedestal, and it's funny every time in the quietest possible way.
I'm waiting for reports from some of you. I'm not joking. This is my job.
Detail 18. Donald Sutherland turned down millions. Donald Sutherland was the one established star the production needed to get Universal Pictures to greenlight the film. Director John Landis offered him a choice: a flat fee of $35,000 or SAG minimum plus 10% of the gross. Sutherland, who had no faith whatsoever in the movie, took the flat fee. Animal House went on to gross $141 million. At 10%, Sutherland would have walked away with over $14 million. He has publicly said he regretted the decision many times. It stands as one of the most expensive career misjudgments in Hollywood history. What makes it more remarkable is that Sutherland later described working on Animal House as one of the funniest experiences he'd had on any set. He liked the movie. He liked the people. He just didn't think anyone else would. As it turned out, he was wrong about that in the most expensive way imaginable. The studio itself had low expectations. Universal's confidence in the project was not much higher than Sutherland's, which is part of why they agreed to the $3 million budget in the first place.
Sure. Everybody I talk to says Omega's the best, but I hate to seem, push.
Detail 17. Kevin Bacon's first ever film role. Before Footloose, before A Few Good Men, before he became the center of the entire 6 Degrees game, Kevin Bacon was Chip Diller, the sycophantic Omega pledge who gets paddled at initiation and says, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" It was his first film appearance of any kind. He was a young, completely unknown stage actor when John Landis cast him. Landis has said he preferred casting unknown dramatic actors rather than comedians, which is why the film feels grounded in a way that most studio comedies of that era don't. Bacon was part of that strategy.
Totally casual attitude.
Oh, you mean you want somebody he can screw on the first date?
Well put. You see, Pinto's never been laid.
Hey!
What I said.
Detail 16. Karen Allen's film debut 2. Bacon wasn't the only one making his film debut. Karen Allen, who played Katie, Boone's girlfriend, also appeared in a feature film for the very first time in Animal House. 3 years later, she was Marion Ravenwood in Raiders of the Lost Ark, a role that made her genuinely famous. Both her and Bacon's first ever film credits appear in the same 1978 comedy, one that Universal Pictures had low expectations for and that the leading actor thought might not amount to much. That's a remarkable amount of future star power to have gathered in one place for $3 million on a college campus in Eugene, Oregon. And almost no one at the time would have predicted where either of those two careers was going.
Don't know much about a science book. Don't know much about the French I took.
Detail 15. The entire cafeteria scene was improvised. John Belushi's now legendary cafeteria sequence, where Bluto piles food impossibly high on his tray, shoves everything into his mouth, does the zit impression, and mashes the plate of Jell-O, was entirely unscripted. When Belushi started loading up that tray, director John Landis immediately told the camera operator to stay with him and not stop rolling. Nobody told the rest of the cast what was about to happen. When Belushi leaned over, puffed his cheeks, and said, "I'm a zit, get it?" the disgusted and horrified reactions from the surrounding cast are completely genuine. They had no idea it was coming. That spontaneous revulsion is what makes the scene work. Tim Matheson has said that Landis ran the production at a pace where almost nothing went more than 2 takes. He kept the cameras rolling constantly, didn't call cut, and would simply shout for the cast to run back and do things again. That style of shooting meant that improvised moments like the cafeteria scene were always possible. The cameras were always ready because Landis never fully stopped them. It was a production philosophy that paid off repeatedly.
I give.
Detail 14. The guitar-smashing staircase scene was also unscripted. At the toga party, a folk singer is perched on the staircase playing guitar, and Bluto walks by, listens for a moment, takes the guitar, smashes it against the wall, shrugs, and hands the pieces back. What almost nobody knows is that the man playing the guitar is Stephen Bishop, the singer-songwriter who wrote and performed the film's original title song. He was playing himself, in a sense. Belushi's decision to grab the guitar and destroy it was improvised on the spot. Bishop's stunned expression isn't acting. He had no idea what was about to happen to his guitar. The whole thing was one take. The aside glance Belushi gives directly to the camera right before he destroys it is also worth noting. It's one of the signature Bluto moves throughout the film, breaking the fourth wall with a raised eyebrow, inviting the audience to be in on the joke. Landis encouraged Belushi to use that look sparingly, The guitar scene is one of the moments where it works perfectly because Belushi holds it just long enough for the audience to understand that what's about to happen is completely deliberate and completely indefensible, and then he does it anyway. Detail 13. The whiskey was not whiskey. In the scene where Bluto chugs what appears to be an entire bottle of Jack Daniels in one go, the liquid in the bottle was not actually whiskey. According to Tim Matheson's 2021 account in his Library of Congress interview, the production initially planned to shoot it from an angle using a funnel hidden on Belushi's shoulder. Belushi refused. He said he could do it for real. He had a small hole drilled in the bottom of the bottle to control the flow, and the liquid inside was colored tea or a similar substitute. He still chugged it in one take, walked off, said nothing. But if you were worried, he actually drank a full bottle of Jack Daniels in a single shot on a movie set. He didn't.
Goddamn son of a bitch! I'll kill you, you scumbag jerk-off assholes!
Detail 12. Numerous SNL cast members were originally cast. The initial lineup for Animal House was going to be a full Saturday Night Live reunion. Chevy Chase was set to play Otter. Bill Murray was attached to play Boone. Dan Aykroyd was to play D-Day. Brian Doyle Murray was going to be Hoover. And John Belushi was already on board as Bluto. Every single one of them backed out for various reasons. Chase chose foul play instead. Murray, Aykroyd, and the others had other commitments. Landis has said he actually quietly discouraged Chase by describing the production as an ensemble piece, knowing Chase would prefer a more prominent vehicle for himself. So the SNL version of Animal House never happened. What replaced it was a cast of then unknown dramatic actors, and the film is almost certainly better for it. The alternative casting is one of those Hollywood sliding doors moments that's genuinely hard to think through. A version of Animal House built around Chase, Murray, and Aykroyd would have been a completely different movie. Louder, more sketch comedy in its rhythms, less grounded. The film that actually got made works because the actors playing the Deltas felt like real people. That wouldn't have been easy to achieve with faces the audience already associated with weekly television comedy.
Please get the ride a pile of Kleenex down the street. Rah, rah.
Hey, look!
Detail 11. The Delta House motto was borrowed from MGM. When the camera catches the Delta Tau Chi fraternity banner early in the film, the motto printed beneath the Greek letters is the same motto used by MGM Studios. A borrowed piece of corporate Latin slipped into a college comedy as a background joke. It was a wink from the filmmakers to anyone paying close enough attention. MGM had nothing to do with the film. It was a Universal picture, which made the joke a slightly cheeky dig too. Most viewers have never noticed it.
Mrs. Wormer, I'm so glad you could come.
Not the crap. Give me a drink.
Detail 10. The entire Verna Bloom drunk scene was improvised. John Landis was unhappy with the scripted dialogue for the scene where Dean Wormer's wife appears drunk while the dean is on the phone with the mayor. He threw out the script, told actress Verna Bloom to simply play drunk and react naturally to whatever came up, and rolled the cameras. The entire scene, including the timing, the shoe business, and all of Bloom's lines, was improvised on the spot. Landis kept rolling without calling cut. Tim Matheson's account confirms that in his scene with Bloom, when he accidentally missed the coat hanger and when ice cubes popped out of his hand, those were genuine accidents that the director chose to keep because they were funnier than anything scripted.
Greg, what
payout is the worst fraternity.
Detail 9. The film almost happened at a different university. John Landis and the producers wanted to shoot on a real college campus. They had a specific vision. They needed the architecture, the quads, the fraternity row. But almost every university they approached turned them down after reading the script. The University of Missouri passed. Several other schools passed. The University of Oregon said yes, reportedly because one person on staff actually read the script and thought it was funny enough to take a chance on. Filming took place on the Oregon campus from October through December 1977 using 2 real fraternity houses and approximately 200 local students as extras. The university has been quietly famous for it ever since. The production also recruited actual University of Oregon students for the party scenes, which contributed directly to the energy on screen. Some of them showed up for filming already drinking. The cameras rolled regardless. That genuine unpredictability, real students at a real college, behaving in ways that weren't entirely directed, gives those sequences a texture that a studio backlot simply couldn't have produced. Eugene, Oregon, became, for a few months in the fall of 1977, the most lawless college campus in American film history.
Did you get the grade reports in the Devils yet?
Oh, yes, I have it right here.
Detail 8. Elmer Bernstein scored it like a serious film, on purpose. When John Landis hired legendary composer Elmer Bernstein, the man who wrote the scores for The Magnificent Seven and To Kill a Mockingbird, to score a raunchy college comedy, Bernstein wasn't sure what to make of the request. Landis told him explicitly to score it as though it were a serious, prestigious film. The result is the mock triumphant Faber College theme, which takes the Academic Festival Overture by Johannes Brahms as its primary source material. The music plays Animal House completely straight, treating the frat house chaos with the same orchestral gravity it would lend to a war film. That deliberate mismatch between the music's seriousness and the film's absurdity is part of why the comedy lands so hard. Bernstein said afterward that scoring Animal House opened a new chapter in his career. He had never scored a comedy before. Landis and Bernstein worked together again on Trading Places in 1983, and Bernstein credited that collaboration with broadening the range of his work in his later career. What most audiences never consciously notice is that the score is doing the exact opposite of what a comedy score usually does. Most comedies use music to signal the jokes. A little sting here, a comic flourish there, something to underline that what you just saw was funny. Animal House's score never does that once. It treats every scene with the same straight-faced grandeur, which is precisely why Bluto's entrance and Bluto's speech and Bluto's everything lands the way it does. The gap between the dignity of the music and the chaos on screen is doing a lot of quiet work. Detail 7. Co-writer Doug Kenney played a character in the film. Douglas Kenney, one of the 3 screenwriters and a co-founder of the National Lampoon magazine, appears in the film himself as the character Stork, the vacant, slightly brain-damaged seeming Delta member who leads the marching band disastrously into a dead-end alley during the homecoming parade. It was a small role, but Kenney, who was known among friends for an absurdist, deadpan sense of humor, played it with a perfectly glazed expression that suited the character exactly. Co-writer Chris Miller also appears briefly in the film in a small role. Their cameos are easy to overlook because neither was a recognizable face and neither has a moment that draws attention to itself. Kenney died in August 1980 in a hiking accident in Hawaii, 2 years after the film's release. He was 33. His contribution to the script and specifically to the structure and sensibility of the film's humor, was enormous, and his death cut short a career that was just beginning to find its scope. Harold Ramis, who went on to direct Caddyshack and Ghostbusters, later said that Kenny was the funniest person he had ever known.
Do those buttons. Dress that belt buckle. Straighten that cap. And goddamn it, tuck up those...
Detail 6. Niedermayer's fate is referenced in another John Landis film. At the end of Animal House, the closing title cards, the ones that tell you what happened to each character after the story ends, inform the audience that ROTC Commander Doug Niedermayer was eventually shot by his own men in Vietnam. It sounds like a throwaway gag. But 5 years later, in 1983's Twilight Zone, the movie, which was also directed by John Landis, a soldier during a Vietnam sequence says, in passing, "I told you guys we shouldn't have shot Lieutenant Niedermayer." It's a direct callback across two completely different films, placed quietly in the dialogue for anyone who caught it. Most people didn't. It's the kind of inside joke that only works if the filmmaker trusts the audience enough to make it without explaining it. Landis didn't draw attention to it, didn't put it on a title card, he just put it in the dialogue of a Vietnam scene in a horror anthology film and left it for 5 years' worth of Animal House fans to find on their own. That's a long game for a film reference. The Twilight Zone. The movie segment has nothing to do with college or fraternities, which is exactly why the line works. It appears from nowhere, with no context, and vanishes just as quickly. Detail 5. Bluto accidentally slipped on the stairs, and they kept it. There is a brief moment during one of Bluto's sneaking around sequences where John Belushi loses his footing and slips on the stairs before catching himself and continuing. It was a genuine accident. The crew saw it happen. Belushi recovered without breaking character, and John Landis left it in the final cut because it was funnier than anything that had been planned for that moment. Belushi's ability to keep going without acknowledging the slip is part of what makes it so seamless. If you blink, you'll miss it entirely.
Didn't even point the gun at him! Holy shit! There were blanks in that gun! Maybe he had a heart attack! Holy...
Detail 4. There's a mouse in the administration building scene. In the scene where Bluto is creeping around outside the administration building checking that the coast is clear, a mouse runs across the stairs in the background, from right to left, apparently startled by Belushi's approach. It was not staged, not trained, and not planned. A real mouse simply appeared on set and ran through the frame. The shot was the best take they had, so it stayed. The mouse is easy to miss because the eye naturally follows Belushi, not the bottom of the frame. Go back and watch that scene. It's there. Detail 3. Dwayne Jesse liked his character so much he became him. Dwayne Jesse played the lead singer of the fictional band Otis Day and the Knights, the act that performs Shout at the toga party in one of the film's most memorable sequences. After the film became a massive hit, Jesse found that audiences and promoters responded to him specifically as Otis Day rather than as Dwayne Jesse. He made a practical decision. He legally changed his name to Otis Day. He then formed a real band called Otis Day and the Knights, which toured and recorded under that name for decades. He went into a movie with one identity and came out with a different one, and kept the new one permanently. The toga party sequence itself was built around a real performance. The Shout cover used in the film was performed live on the set, and the crowd of extras was genuinely dancing. Landis wanted real energy in the room, not staged enthusiasm, and he got it. That sequence has an infectious quality that choreographed party scenes in later films almost never matched, because the people in the background aren't acting like they're at a party. They're actually at one. The combination of Jesse's performance and a crowd of University of Oregon students who had been there for hours produced something that couldn't have been manufactured.
Excuse me, please. Would you hold this?
Detail 2. The film reversed. A decade of declining fraternity enrollment. When Animal House was released in July 1978, fraternity membership at American colleges had been declining steadily for years. The counterculture of the late 60s and early 70s had made Greek life seem dated and irrelevant to a lot of students. Then Animal House became the highest-grossing comedy in film history at that point, and something shifted. Fraternity enrollment reversed course and climbed. Toga parties, which had been a minor tradition before the film, suddenly became a campus institution nationwide. The film didn't just reflect college life. For better or worse, it actively reshaped it. The Library of Congress cited the film as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant when it added Animal House to the National Film Registry in 2001. One of the very few studio comedies ever to receive that designation. The argument for preservation wasn't that it was high art. It was that the film had changed American campus culture in a way that left a measurable mark. A raunchy frat comedy funded for $3 million ended up in the same archive as films considered part of the national heritage. That's a genuinely strange thing, and it's completely true.
I'm saying that Mandy and Eric Stratton are having an affair.
Detail 1. The film was made for $3 million and earned $141 million. Animal House was budgeted at $3 million. At the time, that was considered a modest production. Universal gave the filmmakers just enough to work with and not much more. The studio had genuinely low expectations. Landis was an untested 27-year-old director who had dropped out of high school and whose only previous studio feature was the low-budget Kentucky Fried Movie. The cast was mostly unknowns. The subject matter was considered too crude and risky for mainstream success. Universal's confidence in the film was, to be charitable, limited. It opened on July 28, 1978, and became the second highest-grossing film of that entire year, behind only Grease. It earned more than $141 million in theatrical rentals and home video alone, not counting merchandise. Belushi appeared as Bluto on the cover of Newsweek. Toga parties spread to every campus in America within months of the film's release. The film effectively created the template for every raunchy college comedy that followed, from Porky's to Revenge of the Nerds to Old School to every movie in that lineage right up through the present day. $3 million, $141 million back. None of that was supposed to happen, and that might be the most fitting hidden detail of all. The biggest comedy surprise in Hollywood history was hiding in a movie that almost everyone expected to fail. 47 years later, Animal House still holds up, not just as a comedy, but as a film made by people who understood exactly what they were doing, even when they were pretending not to. The improvised moments, the background jokes, the casting choices, the deliberate 1962 setting, none of it was accidental. John Landis was a 27-year-old high school dropout directing his first studio film, and he made something that the Library of Congress eventually deemed worth preserving for the nation. That's not a bad outcome for a movie that Donald Sutherland didn't believe in. If you caught any of these details the first time around, you were watching more carefully than most. And if you didn't, well, now you have an excuse to watch it again. Some movies deserve that kind of attention, This is one of them. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button and subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.